Let's talk about the overall application timeline, like when to apply, when to write the exams, and what documents do you need for the undergraduate admission in US universities. And towards the later part of the video, I'll talk about the mistakes the students often make on their applications that can cost them their dream admission. This video is basically going to be your complete step-by-step guide for the undergraduate admission in US universities. So without wasting any more time, let's get started. I'm sure most of you guys already know that the admission process in US universities is extremely long. It's insanely long. It takes almost 1 year for the application only. US universities start accepting applications for almost 1 year ahead of the start of the program. So if you want to apply for the fall 2025, you literally have to start your application in fall 2024, almost 1 year in advance. Now all the applications are sent online. There are many different online platforms that different universities use to invite admission applications from the students. The most common is the Common App, or also known as Common Application. This is basically a website where you can fill up online application form and send your application to different universities. The beauty is you just have to fill the application form once and that's it. And you can apply to multiple colleges in US. That's why it is called Common App or Common Application. No, the Common App is not the only online application portal. There are others as well. For example, universities in California state or the Texas state have different application portal. No matter what application portal you use, almost all the universities will start accepting applications almost 1 year in advance. Next step where a lot of students get confused is finding an appropriate deadline, and more than that, targeting an appropriate deadline. Unlike other universities in other parts of the world, the US universities oftentimes have 2, 3, 4, or even 5 different application deadlines. There are early decision 1, early decision 2, early action, restrictive early action, a regular decision, and few universities take students on a rolling basis, means they keep on accepting students throughout the year with some restrictions. I know this is too much to grasp, but if you find yourself confused, don't worry. I will be teaching a very detailed online course, Admission 101, starting this summer. The course will be available on my website in the month of August. And if you fill up this early interest form, when the course becomes available on our website, I will send you guys an email. The students who will enroll in the first week will get up to 40% discount. The link is in the description down below. Back to the point, the early deadlines are usually the November 1, and the regular deadlines may vary from university to university. It starts from almost about the same time, November 1, and can go all the way up to March, April, or April end. I would strongly recommend to start the application in the month of August, and the reason is filling applications online, getting familiar with online portal takes quite a bit of time. Number 2, you have to prepare many documents and have to write many essays. It takes too much time. Sooner you start, the better shape you will be in, the more comfortable your application experience will be. That's why I highly recommend to all my students to start early. Start as soon as universities start accepting applications, which is most of the time in August. So just keep in mind the month of August of your 12th grade will be the time when you should be ready and start applying to the universities in US. If you wait until you pass 12th grade, that will be too late for you. In that case, you will have to wait a whole year and apply next year as a gap year student for the fall 2026. So be very mindful about it. If you do not want to lose your 1 year, you have to start in the month of August of your 12th grade. Before you start sending applications, you have to do a very important task, and that is shortlisting universities. There are 4,000 educational institutions, universities, colleges in US. Obviously, not all of them are best fit for you, and you don't want to apply to all of those either, and it is not possible either. Shortlisting is something that you cannot do in 1 day or 1 week. You have to do it in parallel. it takes time. I would recommend to start shortlisting universities in the month of May and go all the way to the June, July, and maybe a little bit in early August. I wouldn't recommend to linger this on into later half of the August or in September because you have plenty of other things to do once your applications open up. There are a couple of free resources that could be helpful to you in to shortlist universities, and one of them is US News website. You can take it as a starting point to gather some of the information about the universities and their ranking, their acceptance rate, and other information, and later visit all those universities' websites individually. Gather as much information as you can. Look into the programs that you want to apply to, the choices universities are offering, or the location, or the weather, or any other factor that is important to you, and shortlist 35 to 40 colleges based on your criterias, and later you can cherry pick maybe 10-15 out of those first list of shortlisted 35-40 colleges. Now the next thing you need is standardized test, your ACT, your SAT. Ideally you should target to write these tests before you start the application. So May, June, July are the best months. I know there are a few dates available in the month of August as well, but try to write these exams before August. I really want you guys to focus on the other aspects of the application once you start the applications and not to be distracted by the other things that you can easily take off from your plate. One very important point I want to mention here is in certain countries it is very hard to book an exam date because simply there is a long queue. So I would highly recommend you guys to book your date well in advance, like a couple of months in advance. And another problem that students often run into is non-availability of the passport. Every year, tens of students tell me that, oh, they could not book the exam date because they did not have their passport, or their passport expired, or their passport was about to expire, and so on. So make sure you apply your passport well in advance if you don't have one, and if you have one, make sure you renew it if it is very close to expiration. Now, ever since the pandemic hit, many universities have waived the SAT or ACT test requirement, but many universities are still accepting these tests or putting test mandatory policy back in place. So I would highly recommend to write the test, and there are a couple of other reasons which I will talk about in some other video in future, because if I talk those everything in this video, I am sure this video will be very long. Before I go any further, I would really appreciate if you can hit the like button and subscribe my channel. Thank you. The next thing you need is your test of English proficiency, your TOEFL, IELTS, PTE or Duolingo. If you are from a non-English speaking country like India, Bangladesh, Pakistan and many other countries, you need to have the English proficiency test. And same thing goes for these English proficiency tests as well. Try to finish them before you start your application, before the month of August. These tests remain valid for a few years. So if you can write them 1 year, 1.5, 2 years in advance, that's very good. Because again, you can take this test out of your plate and you will be free and you can focus on the other aspects of your application. The next step in the application process is very crucial, and that is you need to work with your school on basically getting counselor's letter, school report and teacher's letter of recommendation. As soon as you fill up the online application and enter the information of your school counselor and the recommenders and hit the submit button, the application portal will automatically send an email to your recommenders and counselor asking to make an online account for them on the application portal and upload a bunch of informations and the letters. All of that will happen automatically. You don't have to do anything. You just have to, input their names and contact information and email ID, and it will happen on the background. Everything will happen automatically. Whatever portal you use, but you still have to follow up with your recommenders and your counselor on the progress. I've seen many cases where teachers and counselors from outside US are not very familiar with the application process or the admission process in US universities. So it will be better for you to offer them a help. That is the best you can do. Work with them and get a best letter of recommendation all of this can be done during the month of August and September, and maybe a little bit in October. That's the best time. Again, the course I will be teaching, Admission 101, I will talk about each and every topic in detail in that course. The next big piece of the application is essays. Personal essay and supplemental essays. As a part of application, you will be asked to write 650 words personal essay. And depending upon the university to university, there could be 2, 3 or even 4 college specific essays for each college you apply to. Now imagine if you are applying 15 colleges, you would have to write 30 to 45 college specific supplemental essays. And that takes a lot of time. That's why I would recommend you to start your application as early as possible and start working on your essays in the month of August itself. As you hit the month of October, it will be the time to apply for the need-based financial aid. All international students have to send their CSS profile to universities or the colleges that they are applying to. Domestic students have to send both CSS profile together with the FAFSA form. That should happen in the month of October. The CSS profile opens up on October 1st every year. So as soon as the CSS profile opens up, I would recommend you to start working on the CSS profile, and that should happen in the month of October. Now if you apply early admission, your decision will come out starting second week of November. For regular applications though, the decision will start coming out from January and onwards. After you get an offer and accept it, you then have to work on getting your I-20 issued. The I-20 is a document that you need in order to apply for a student visa, F1 visa. Without I-20, you can't apply F1 visa. It is very, very important. And in order to get your I-20 issued, you have to provide your financial documents to the university or the college. That includes education loan, personal loan, or other financial documents of your parents, so that you can prove that you have enough money available to support yourself at least 2 semesters in US. Therefore, you need to make a financial planning well in advance. And I would recommend to start, your financial planning in the month of December and January. And then finally, you also have to apply the visa. As soon as you have the financial documents ready, you have the money in your account or whatever your plan is, you have the money available and you have the I-20 issued, then you can, apply visa. And that typically should happen in the month of April to July. I try to cover as much as I can within this limited time video, but there are so many things that that goes into a successful application. There are tips, tricks, strategies that help you win your dream admit. There is simply a lot of information to cover, and that's why I have created this course, Admission 101. Join me. I look forward to seeing you in my course. That's all for today. Take care. Bye.